Davis County Code at Law number 2 is, what was that? In a session. Davis County Code at Law number 2 is back in session. The code is in session and calls number M32759, calls number M3275596. Case of South State of Texas versus Patrick Daniel Gallagher. Let the record reflect that Mr. Gallagher is present in court with his attorney, Mr. Dustin Gallimore. The state is present with Assistant District Attorneys Erica Porter and Attorney Kobe Hoffrock. Let the record also reflect that the jury is now present in court. State, would you please call? State, are you ready? Defense, are you ready? State, you can call your next witness.
State calls Georgia Jackson.
Georgia Jackson. And Ms. Jackson was not sworn in.
I was not going to show you, but you can show that on the move.
Jackson, you please come forward. Ms. Jackson, you can come forward. Stand before the bench. Ms. Jackson, would you please raise your right hand? Ms. Jackson, do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Okay, Ms. Jackson, you may put your hand down. Ms. Jackson, would you please take a seat in that chair right there where the microphone is? You can adjust the microphone and the chair. Order, you may proceed.
Mr. Jackson, what is your occupation?
Everyone.
And how long have you worked?
Since 1988, for about 30 plus years,
Okay, and who is your current employer?
Core Health.
And did you have previous employers before Core Health as an LVN?
Yes.
So tell me about your duties. What are some of your duties?
We treat our patients, we do IVs on patients, we draw blood from patients. We do wound care. We basically do their whatever healthcare needs they need at the jail at that time.
And what jail are you speaking of when you say at the jail?
The Jefferson County Jail.
And tell me a little bit about your education.
I graduated as a licensed vocational nurse back in 1987. I got my license in 1988. And I worked at Sandy for 19 years as a licensed vocational nurse. And then I worked at Jefferson County since 2007, for about 16 years almost.
Okay, and where were you working on the night of May the 7th, 2020?
Jefferson County Jail.
Were you asked to take a blood sample for Patrick Gallagher?
Yes.
And tell me approximately how many blood samples have you taken?
Oh, a lot. Probably at least 500, maybe more. I did that also at the hospital when I worked there.
And at the time, May the 7th, 2020, approximately how many blood samples have you taken?
Then probably maybe 150, maybe 200.
Explain for the court exactly how you take a blood sample.
You would go in and introduce yourself to the patient and tell them what you're going to do. You would prep their arm. We at the jail, we're not allowed to use alcohol pads, so we use saline solution. We clean the site with that. We also put a tourniquet on there so that it'll help pump up the vein for us. We use a butterfly, or even we can use a vacuum trainer. I prefer the butterflies. We insert the needle into the arm, and before that, we have to let the officer know that we need the tubes that he has, because they have to bring their own kits in for us to draw the blood from.
Okay, and why do you not use alcohol?
It is suggested that it causes an increase in the alcohol in the blood, so it can kind of manipulate the blood level or whatever. I'm not really sure, because when we use the alcohol pad in the hospital, we would clean it and then wipe it dry. And I don't really understand it, but I don't feel like it's really a big thing.
And would you describe your work area, the area that you actually take the blood? Would it be sanitary?
Yes, we have a lab room that we use to draw blood, because we also do lab work in the jail. So we draw lab and we do blood draw.
Okay, about what time did you take Patrick Gallagher's blood on May the 7th?
It would have to be at night because I work 6 to 6. I'm not sure what time.
Do you believe, let me, permission to approach.
Yes, ma'am.
Can I ask that you place these? Do you recognize what has been marked as states 6A and 6B in the contents thereof?
There the containers that hold the blood, to the blood inside.
Okay, and after you took the blood from Patrick Gallagher, what did you do with these vials?
The officer would keep those until we draw the blood, in which we have to kind of manipulate the blood back and forth so that it's kind of like the anticoagulant that leaves in there, it gets into the blood and help it to keep from clotting.
Okay, so you recognize these two vials?
Yes,
Okay, and do you believe it that they have been tampered with in any way?
I would not.
But based on your knowledge, you don't believe they've been
No.
tampered with?
Good afternoon, how you doing?
All right, yes.
Good, you remember Mr. Gallagher?
Maybe, but
Not much. You ever had anyone tell you after you drew their blood that you did a good job? You remember who that was?
no.
That's what.
Okay. Thank,
No further questions.
okay. Mr. Galmo, may this witness be excused?
Yes, Judge, and I don't see any reason to keep it subject to recall, so you can find one.
Okay, now, Ms. Jackson,
Yes, sir.
I need to inform you that the rule has been invoked, and what that basically means is that when you are ordered to leave the courtroom, you are not to return unless you are asked to come back in by one of the lawyers, state or the bailiff. You are not allowed to discuss this case or your testimony with other witnesses or anyone else except the attorneys. You are not to read any report or comment on the testimony of evidence in this case, and any witness violating this rule can be held in contempt of court. And basically what that means is they can be held in jail for up to 180 days and given a fine up to $500. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, Ms. Jackson, you are excused. and you have a blessed day.
You too.
Thank you. Yeah. Okay. You need to do this off the record. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, we have a hearing that we have to conduct outside of your presence. Please stand, follow the bailiff outside. Mr. Power, you can call your next witness.
Young lady off Moreno.
Same page, so. You may be seated. In Duncan County Court, Law number 2, session, the court is in session in cause number M327-596, case of style of state of Texas versus Patrick Daniel Gallagher. Let the record reflect that Mr. Gallagher is present in court with his attorney Dustin Galmore. Let the record also reflect that the state is present with Assistant District Attorney Erica Porter and Attorney Kobe Hoffmeyer. Let the record also reflect that the jury is now present in court. And Mr. Hoffmeyer, your next witness is Memling Altamirano.
That's correct.
Altamirano. Ms. Moreno, would you please raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? You may put your hand down. You may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Counsel. Would you please state your name for the record, please?
It's Melanie Altamirano.
And Ms. Altamirano, what is your occupation?
I am a forensic scientist for Jefferson County Regional Crime Lab.
And how long have you been with the Jefferson County Regional?
Approximately 14 to 15 years.
So you've worked at our crime lab here in Jefferson County for 14 years, is that correct?
Yes.
And you've been a forensic scientist that whole time?
Yes.
Okay. Now, what are your duties as a forensic scientist at the crime lab?
To analyze physical evidence that's submitted by law enforcement for either biology or ethanol concentration.
Okay, what is your educational background?
I have a bachelor's in biology.
Now, what specific training have you received in the area of blood and alcohol toxicology?
I've received internal and external training by 2 experienced forensic scientists, in addition to external training by Department Science Force, which is taught by the lead scientists in the field.
Okay, now, do you belong to any professional organizations?
I do. I belong to SWAF and I.
Okay, are those organizations that deal with forensic scientists that are all over the nation, Texas and all over the nation as well?
Yes.
Now, have you testified as an expert before witness in the area of chemistry?
No.
Okay, is this your first time?
Yes.
Together, okay, so you've been a blood toxicology expert. You've only done that recently in your work at the crime lab, is that correct?
Yes. A couple of 4 years, maybe 5, something like that.
Now, did you get to do that after you completed in-house and training to become not just a forensic scientist, but to be specialized in toxicology, blood toxicology?
Yes.
Okay. And would you tell the jury what that was? Was it rigorous, meaning you had to qualify and the lab director and all that you had to go through and review?
Right. So the training started with reading a variety of literature that gave me the basic understanding on how the procedures or the methods employed by our lab. After that, I watched 2 experienced forensic scientists in blood alcohol perform casework, and that gave me the detailed comprehension to take and pass a competency examination, and also I am yearly proficiency tested.
Okay, now, so you're certified as a blood toxicologist at this time?
I am licensed as, yes, toxicology interpreter, yes.
Okay, and do you go through a review every year or 2 years to recertify or get your license to make sure it's current?
Yes, so we have to maintain a continual education in order to re-license.
So you're licensed under the Texas Forensic Science Commission, is that correct?
Yes.
Your Honor, make sure there's
Okay.
power on this.
Is
Put on the video.
Mr. Ford. You may proceed.
Thank you. Now, were you certified on May 7th, 2020 in blood toxicology?
I was licensed, yes.
You were licensed, okay. And then on or about July 20th or June 20th, excuse me, were you licensed at that time?
Yes, I was.
Now, did you perform a test for blood toxicology on an individual by the name of Patrick Gallagher?
Yes, I did.
Okay, and that comes to you through agencies in Jefferson County, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so they come through, it's brought to you, and then you use, would you tell the jury, how do you test blood alcohol content of your blood?
So whenever a blood kit comes into our lab, there are usually two blood vials inside. I choose one of the blood vials, and from that blood vial, I create two samples. Those two samples are then placed in our instrument called the GCFID, which stands for gas chromatography with flame ionization detectors. They get pressurized and then transfer over to, in the headspace, I'm sorry, they get transferred over to the GC part where we go, that acts almost like an oven. It goes through a coil, and then the volatile items or the ethanol, if present, will separate out and be detected by the detectors in the oven, and then that will produce a signal by the computer.
Okay, well, approach you.
Yes, you may.
Okay, showing you what's been previously marked as State's Exhibit number 6, and contained therein as State's Exhibit number 6A and number 6B. Would you take a look at these? Random.
Yeah.
Do you recognize those? I'll give you some time.
Yeah. I do.
And does it have any identifying marks on those tubes that show that you conducted an blood alcohol concentration examination on?
Yes, so the kit has the lab number that was assigned to it, the exhibit number and my initials on there. Now, the blood kits and the blood vials themselves also have the lab number, the letter I signed and my initials on both. So I label this as A, and this will be vial B.
Okay, now, you it's standard to get 2 blood vials, is that correct? Okay, and then do you have to use both for testing, or do you, in this case, do you use both of them, or do you just use one?
I just used one.
Okay, and you know that does it look tampered with in any way other than the fact that you opened them and conducted your test on, and it didn't come to you tampered in any way, did it?
No,
Okay.
no.
If it had, would you have conducted a test on it?
No.
Why? Because, I mean, that means that it's conflicted, it's contaminated, is that correct?
Well, it will be conflicting.
But those are blood samples, and does it say if that had to do with blood samples from according to records and in that kit for Mr. Patrick Gallagher?
So the blood vials come sealed with a vial label, and that label usually has the subject's name, the officer, the nurse, and the time and date that they were collected. And they both match Gallagher Patrick or Patrick Gallagher.
Okay.
Gallagher.
No. Right now, did you analyze the contents of the blood to determine its alcohol content?
I did for vial A.
Okay, now, was the laboratory conducting this testing accredited at the time of the testing?
Yes, we have been accredited since 2005.
Okay, and do you continue to be accredited? That's an ongoing process, correct? It's not like one time. You have to keep your accreditation, correct?
That is correct.
Would you be able to conduct the testing which you're testifying here today if it wasn't accredited?
No.
Okay. Now, what scientific process did you use to make this determination? The blood alcohol.
So as I mentioned earlier, I did use the GCFID, which is our instrumentation.
And then was this instrument working properly when you conducted the test on that blood sample?
Yes, it was working properly.
Okay. And did you follow the protocol for testing using that particular instrument?
Yes, I did.
Now, would you tell us what the results were on the blood test on Mr. Patrick Gallagher?
So the results were 0.096 grams of ethanol per 100 mLs with an uncertainty of plus or minus 0.006.
Now, what is the level statutorily in the state of Texas for a person being intoxicated? What is the blood alcohol?
0.08.
1.08 and higher. Is that right?
Mhm.
So that is through our law, person above a 0.08 or at 0.08 and above, they're intoxicated statutorily. Is that correct?
Yes,
It does not matter how big, tall, male, woman, anything. You're intoxicated under all laws at a 0.8 or higher, correct?
yes,
Is the result of a 0.096 higher than a 0.08?
it is.
So that through our laws, civil determination, that's above the legal limit in the state of Texas,
Yes,
correct? Madam Pro Tem.
Yes,
I'll show you what's previously marked as State's Exhibit number 7. Take a look at that. You recognize that one?
I do.
What is that?
This is a report that I generated after the analysis.
And does that report reflect what you told the jury here today about 0.096 for Mr. Patrick Gallagher?
Yes,
Okay. Do you do that in a regular course of business at the Jefferson County Crime Lab in regards to the records? That's the lab report, is that right?
that is correct.
But you do that in all cases where you do the examination, what you testified to. You keep that record, and that record also goes to the agency,
That is correct.
right? Then you got the results that are on that report from the blood samples that you testified to before. Is that correct?
Yes,
Okay, and it's done in the regular course of business, and you do it in all of this.
yes,
Okay, and it hasn't been tampered with in any way, and that's the copy that was notarized, and you do that for purposes of the results of your scientific test.
yes.
Madam Pro Tem.
yes,
At this time, Your Honor, the state is a consider opposing counsel for State's Exhibit 6, which includes therein, Exhibit 6A and 6B. Also, State's Exhibit 7 and barring any objections, and it have to admit these for all purposes.
okay. No objection. States Exhibit 6A, States Exhibit 6B, and States Exhibit number 7 are admitted.
Just a few more questions, Your Honor. Now, in the course of your training, have you also learned about the physical effects of alcohol on the human body?
Yes.
Okay, would you tell the jury what those are?
So the greater the concentration, or the higher the concentration, the greater the effects. Usually your cognitive skills, such as your judgment, are affected first, and then it moves on into the psychomotor skills, which are voluntary movements.
Okay, so in layman's terms, we would say it affect your mental capacities or faculties. Is that fair to say?
It's fair to say that is, ethanol is central nervous system depressant, and yes,
Okay, now what about your physical faculty?
yes,
Okay, so the introduction of alcohol can affect both of those.
yes,
Now, as a toxicology expert, also person who analyzes blood on DWI cases, is it fair to say that those can affect it because driving is a divided attention activity, correct?
that is correct.
Okay. Now, would you tell what is elimination? Tell the jury what elimination.
So elimination is basically the way that alcohol or ethanol comes out of your body pretty much, or how it's broken down.
Okay, and it's a natural thing, is that correct?
Yes, it's mainly a metabolism, control by the metabolism, meaning that you can't accelerated by drinking water, like a lot of people think, or it's metabolism dependent.
Okay, when does elimination begin?
Elimination begins as soon as you start drinking. As soon as you drink, absorption begins and elimination begins. So it's a simultaneous process.
Okay, now if you stop drinking and you're not drinking, therefore it's not your blood alcohol, your elimination has started. It's not, it's continuing to eliminate no matter what. Is that fair to say?
Right.
Okay. Now, what about how does the human body absorb alcohol?
So absorption of alcohol is basically getting alcohol from outside into your bloodstream. So the most common route is ingestion, and then after that it goes through your esophagus, it goes through your intestine, and then I'm sorry, to your stomach, and then through your intestine.
Thank you, ma'am. That's what.
Mr. Galmo,
Yes, Your Honor.
you may proceed.
May I approach?
Yes.
Ms. Menway, do you know what a line graph is?
Like a linear graph?
Yeah.
Mhm.
So if I put one single point on that page,
Okay,
can you tell if the line is going up or if it's going down?
no,
Okay, now if I put another point on that page,
okay,
let's say right here, right? You draw a line from there to there, can you then tell if it's going up or if it's going down?
no. The-
Fill this in for you here.
Okay, so you're starting high here and low here, and
Correct.
are those your coordinates?
Sure.
Okay,
Now, can you tell if the line's going up or can you tell if the line's going down?
it depends on what you have here, so. It normally, man. So a linear graph, right, it's usually different points, let's say. And then depending on what it's in here, then I can tell whether it's going up or down,
But would you agree that you need at least two dots
or what,
to know how to draw a line?
in a linear graph, yes.
Okay. How many blood samples did you test in this case?
So for the blood vial. Can I have that pen again, or that marker again? I'll write and show. So,
No, I'll make sure you understood the question correctly. How many samples of blood did you test in this case?
I took two for each, for the one bottle, but I was gonna show because I thought it was a little bit.
Well, I don't know if it's
Or no.
important. The next question was going to be, now that you told us you tested two samples,
Mhm.
did they come from the same draw?
They came from the same vial, yes.
Okay, thank you.
So further continue now? No, okay.
If you don't mind. Did you watch the video of Mr. Gallagher in this case?
No,
So you don't really know how he looked, do you?
no,
You don't know the signs he exhibited, do you?
no,
So you didn't really try to link those to the results that you had in any way?
no.
That's
Further.
Okay,
Yes, what is it?
may this witness be excused, Mr. Galmo? You say subject to recall.
We need to
Okay.
keep them, what's gonna be out.
Well,
Somebody to read on.
we can. Hold on a minute. Okay, Mr. Alpire, may this witness be released?
Please, Your Honor.
And Mr. Galmore,
Subject to recall.
subject to recall. Okay. Now, Salter Moreno, the rule has been invoked. And basically what that means is that you will not be allowed to talk to anyone about your testimony unless it's the attorneys in the case. And you cannot read any other reports, newspaper articles, or television reports, do any television reports about this case. Now, if you violate the rule, you can subject to be held in contempt of court. And what that means is you can be sentenced to 180 days in jail and given a fine up to $500. Now, if we need your testimony, again, we understand your schedule on next week. We'll work around it. Okay, so at this time, you'll be released. You're free to go. And you have a blessed day.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, at this time, ladies and gentlemen, the court will be in recess until Monday at 1:30. And at that time, we will ask that each one of you meet in the hallway outside of the courtroom. And then when the bailiff is ready, he will come and get you. So at this time, first of all, I'd like to thank you for staying overtime on today. Will everyone please stand? Okay. You free to go. Have a blessed day. Follow the bill. Court will be in recess till Monday, 1:30.